Was there ever a moment when you thought that it might not work out?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that there have been multiple of those. We had no customers. We had no software. We were using QuickBooks. We were typing everything out. Everything is so expensive. How are we gonna do this? During the days I would come in, after I got off and I would answer the phones. Some days I would have to take a nap or something, so Pete would have to answer the phone. Greenfielding to me is when you are starting with nothing. People are always afraid to up their prices, but that's what you have to do.
Now you guys are nearly 100 employees. Today on ASAP Unfiltered, I'm sitting down with Alicia Green, owner and COO of Go Green Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical in Greensboro, North Carolina. Alicia leads a growing service business across multiple trades, which means she understands firsthand reality of leadership, growth, hiring, culture, and pressure that comes with running a company. So we're going to talk about some of that today. So thank you for coming in.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So can you just talk about how you got into this industry? Have you always been in the trades, or is this recent?
Yeah, when Pete and I were young, we started dating back in high school. He immediately from high school wanted to go into the trades. At first, he went for plumbing or for electrical, I'm sorry, and then ended up getting hired for a plumbing company, and he really loved it, and that took off, and he built his career there. When I graduated, I went to nursing school, so I became a nurse. But about 3 years into Pete's career, he was really determined to kind of learn every part of the industry, so that one day he could open his own company. So that was back in 2000. He had the passion and drive just to keep learning everything. So he went from residential to new construction to commercial, industrial management positions, became the GM of a pretty large company and grew that. And around 2012, he said that he was really, within the next few years, really wanted to start a company. At that time, I was a cardiac ICU nurse, worked in critical care. I was the director of a unit, a house supervisor, worked my way in leadership within the hospital and within critical care. And from there, I went back to school, got my master's. I wanted to understand business. It was important to me that if we were going to start something, that I understood the balance sheet and the profit and loss. And I had some really great mentors in nursing and working at a leadership level. We did see the profit and loss statements, but it didn't all make sense.
No.
So I went back to school and got my master's, and September of 2015, we opened Go Green in our basement. So at that time, we started with just plumbing, but we did have a business plan. I mean, we spent a lot of time. We spent about a year really writing out what our vision was, what we wanted the company to look like in 5 years and 10 years, what our ultimate goals were. So it always included HVAC and it always included electrical. But starting with plumbing, that was his background. Companies that he had worked for had the additional trades, but plumbing was his strong area. And plumbing is a very, stable, predictable business. So we knew that it was a good foundation to start with.
Awesome. So first of all, I think the fact that you guys took a long time to write out your vision and your plan is more than most entrepreneurs when they start.
Yeah.
I feel like when I took over my company, I didn't have a vision for a long time, and core values, like I didn't know that was part of it, but it's critical. So
It
that
is.
probably set you up for success early.
Yeah.
I've met with a couple people now that kind of similar background, like they worked in hospitals, ICU floors. Do you think that set you up for like high stress environments?
I definitely do. I think the area that I came from, and God bless every single nurse on the planet, but I was never the kind of nurse that just could work on like any med surge unit. Like I needed high stress, chaos, adrenaline. So I always worked in, cardiac ICU, trauma ICUs, neuro ICUs. I always worked in just high stress environments, and I do think that has helped. It helped me at first with triaging customers, like you would triage patients, prioritizing and really critical thinking skills. And dealing with it, building teams.
Yeah.
So I think that
Yeah.
those were all, benefited by my past.
Definitely. Okay, awesome. I know you guys are a pretty big company now and you guys have a really good brand. Can you talk about kind of what the early days were like though, back in 2015, 16?
Yeah. We are currently at 91 employees, so we're growing. We've always been growing, but in 2015, 2016, it was really, I was still working on the nursing unit. So I gave up my leadership position and went back to bedside nursing and worked a night shift. So I would work nights, and our kids were young then. Our youngest was only 2. And then we had a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. So they were much younger. And they, were busy. They have sports and all those kinds of things. So I went back to night shift. During the days, I would come in after I got off and I would answer the phones. Some days I would have to take a nap or something. So Pete would have to answer the phone while he was in the crawl space by himself. A lot of that dedication that you have to really greenfield something. And I mean really greenfield, not like some of these people we see on social media right now that talk about greenfielding. Like greenfielding, to me, greenfielding is when you are starting with nothing. It's not coming into a business that has 10 employees and has been in an area for 8 years that just wasn't really growing. Greenfielding, we had no customers. We had no software. We were using QuickBooks, to build estimates. We were typing everything out. This was, we were too small to bring on something like Service Titan. We were too small really to join some of the coaching organizations that we wanted to join. It was a different time. And even though it was only 11 years ago, the industry looks so much different today than it did 11 years ago on social media, when it comes to coaching networks, when it comes to gurus out there, when it comes to private equity in the space. It was a different time. So, our lives were definitely wrapped around Go Green. We brought on our first employee in December of 2015, towards the beginning of December of 2015, and he was a completely green apprentice, and that's all we could afford. And he didn't really know much of anything, and built him up into a tech, into a manager. So had him with us for a really long time, and that's where his whole career started too. But it was all hands on, all hands on and 24 hours a day. I mean, Pete would be out there, taking on calls at 2 or 3 in the morning, and it's just, you do what you have to do at
Yeah.
that time.
Wow, you guys are at nearly 100 employees, so
Yeah.
it probably feels like a lifetime ago, but really 10 years is
Yeah.
that's a big growth in 10 years.
Yeah.
I agree with you on the greenfielding. So our first location I took over, but here we greenfielded and I really underestimated how hard it was to build a presence where you have no customers. So that's a good point. Like
Yeah.
you're really doing everything. So was there ever a moment when you thought that it might not work out?
I think that there have been multiple of those, like it seems like we got to 1 million really easy. And it seems like it was a lot harder to get to 3. Everything is so expensive, right? I mean, it really is. And when you're trying to build something, you're trying to bring on, or create this reputation, this brand, which means you have to bring on the best people that you can find, and they want a lot of things. So when you are just starting out and you're really trying to bring on great people and you have to start implementing benefits are really expensive when you only have 3 people on a plant. So there's a lot of challenges like that, and things that we would question, like, how are we going to do this? I think those things were just things that we kind of had to work through initially. We had to up our prices. People are always afraid to up their prices, but that's what you have to do. And you have to charge what you have to charge to build the business that you're looking to build. You can't be afraid of that. I think that adding HVAC, we questioned for a long time. Like,
So yeah, what year did you add the second trade?
yeah, so we added HVAC in 2019. I'm sure that there are thousands of people across the country that are looking to add on another trade. And for us, we had SOPs in place, we had great processes. We were in the process of, building or renovating our building now. So we had room for growth. We thought we had everything nailed down. We were sitting at a 27% profit on the plumbing, and we felt like we were in a really great place. And when we brought on HVAC, for about 3 years that we had no profit. It took every bit of our profit. And the industries, though they're so similar and they go hand in hand, they're operated so differently. And just the ebb and flows. We had COVID in there, but we just weren't expecting so much of that ebb and flow. The necessary membership base that you really need to have in HVAC to stay steady in the down times, the additional marketing spend that's required, So HVAC definitely threw us for a loop because we were kind of sitting on hubris. We really were doing well. We had profit, we were growing, everything was going so great, and then added that, and it was a much harder industry to really add. And I kudos to everyone out there who only operates HVAC. HVAC requires a lot more overhead and a lot more manpower for just one system than plumbing or electrical do. So
After 3 years, I would be questioning
yeah.
I would be questioning that too.
Yeah, we were like, did we just shut that thing down? Or yeah.
And then when did you add electrical?
We added electrical in 2021. That was a pretty easy add. Electrical was not too challenging to add for us. It really made a lot of sense because on every HVAC install, we needed an electrician. So we were either subbing it out and paying a ton of subcontractor fees, or bring someone on to do those reconnects and pull permits. That and the electrical industry does work a lot like plumbing. So it was a
More
pretty
steady income.
yeah, more steady, pretty predictable. There's always ebb and flows in any industry. There's always economic times and things that are going on, but they're pretty predictable, and they run pretty evenly. KPIs, average tickets, a lot of the things are pretty similar there when it comes to electrical. So
Is there as much competition in those sectors as well? Like, I know we were just talking how HVAC is kind of
yeah,
saturated, especially the last 5 years or so, but is
yeah.
it the same with plumbing and electrical?
I think that there is a lot of saturation. There's a lot of groups buying in. There's a lot of groups that have gone out in our area too, that have, you know, they acquired a bunch of companies in the area, and then they kind of shut them all down. So we've seen that too,
Okay.
which has been different, I would say in the last 7 months to a year. That's been pretty
Like,
different to
they weren't
see.
performing, you think, or
Yeah, and I'm really not sure if they weren't getting the profit that they needed, or I don't really know what the reasoning for that was. I don't hear a lot of people talking about it out there. But we have definitely seen it in our Triad area, a couple of those places shutting down. So Um, and there's a lot of tech talk about it. We say like tech talk,
Mhm.
but I don't know I'm not going to assume their reasonings. It is definitely something that we have noticed. But when it comes to saturation, I think that, every day I drive to work and I see a new HVAC truck out there, or I see a new plumbing truck out there. And I think that Michael Gerber in E-Myth said it the best when he said, there's a lot of technicians out there that have entrepreneurial seizures. And so there's a lot of people out there that are really great technicians that try to open shop, and I wish them the best. I hope that they understand how challenging the industry truly is, that owners aren't
Mhm.
putting that whole check that you just collected from the customer right into their pocket.
Yeah, I think that's a common misconception from
Yeah,
technicians.
it is for sure. We did a poll recently just within our own office to ask everybody where they thought we were sitting at profit so far for this year. And the numbers were insane, like 38% to 47% profit. So there definitely is
They think it's going all to you.
perception. Yeah, that is much different than reality, but it is America. It's great. I'm happy for those that can open something, and I do wish them success. It is a tough industry though. We do offer coaching to competitors in our area. We actually bring them in and help them with their pricing. A lot of them that are part of PHCC come to, which is our lobbyist group, I guess.
Okay.
But they come for quarterly meetings and, they're drowning. They're struggling. And so we bring them in and show them how we price and why we price that way, and hopefully build the whole industry up. Pete always says, and I think it's just so true, every boat rises with the tide. So as
Yeah,
much
I think it's great
information
that
as
you
we
guys do
can
that.
share out there, even with our competitors, it just brings everybody up. So
Yeah, I always think it's great to make friends with your competitors. Like, there's
yeah.
enough work for everyone. We don't need to throw each other under the bus every
Mhm.
second. So we're friends with a lot of door companies too, but there are
Yeah.
plenty that want nothing to do with us as well. So it
Yep.
goes both ways.
It
But
does for sure.
talking about leadership, is there a certain lesson that you want to share that you've learned along the way?
I think probably one of my biggest lessons is that as a leader, especially as a business owner, so I do feel like there's a difference in when I was a leader in the hospital versus being the owner of an organization. We just have different minds, different motivation, and we have a lot more to lose.
Yeah.
So leadership, when you have a lot to lose, can create very high emotions sometimes. And, the people that I've always looked up to or mentors that I've always had were just so calm all the time and so even keel.
Mhm.
And I have not always been that. I could be very high strung, or, you know, um, it's easy for me to tell myself a story about what happened. So I could look back at the day and think, oh my gosh, was just nobody was doing anything today? And, when did we intervene and try to make a difference here in these numbers? And, um, everybody must have just been walking around and goofing off. And I don't know, whatever story I could tell myself. And I think that over the years, I've really learned that the stories aren't usually what's actually happening. And a couple of years ago, so I have an office. You've been to our building, but I
Mhm.
have an office that's kind of like in the back. I don't see everybody that walks through every single time they're walking through if I'm back there. That started really bothering me. It started bothering me, the stories that I would tell, and then I would go to one of our other leaders or managers, and they would um, retell the story based off of their perception of what actually happened. Or during morning huddle, I would get the story of what they felt like actually happened. I don't know. I felt like I was creating a lot of stories. So I ended up moving my office. I still have my office back there where I can go and have a private space with any one of our team members, but I moved back to our operations center and I sit with our whole entire operations center. I think that that has changed everything. It's really easy to lose culture when you're not in the middle. And I think that that's what happens so much with these. This is, again, maybe just a story I'm telling myself, but a lot of these people that come from, large organizations or the private equity groups, and they say the culture was lost. And I think that happens when we as owners step too much aside. So when I'm there, I'm sitting there. I'm with the team. I'm hearing what's happening. We come up with game plans together. We celebrate wins together. We work on losses. We try to rehash and save things right on the spot. And it's not that the other leaders weren't doing those things. It's that we're the owners, and it is our job to model that behavior. And when we're so disassociated, I think that it was really making a big difference on our leadership team. And when I say dissociated, we were there. Like, I'm there every single day. I'm just in a different part or different area of the building, and just that much separation, like a canyon. And I think that everything has really turned around by being able to be in the middle and see what's happening, not create stories, and intervene and build people up. And it just makes a difference. I really do think it makes a difference, not just in the way we lead, but also in our culture. So it was probably one of my biggest lessons was we want to leave our leaders this space to lead their teams, but we necessarily think for our organization it was good when we put too much space between us and the leaders. I think we definitely negatively felt that.
That's a good point. Yeah. Like my main location is across the country. So I definitely felt that too when I left. Like kind of culture and everything fell apart. And I would tell myself all these crazy stories, and because I really couldn't see what was going on. Like, right. I could watch cameras, I can look at numbers, but I had no idea what was going on. So it took a lot of flying back and forth and putting like leaders in place that I trusted to, emulate me essentially being there.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
It is.
Even when I'm not here, I work from home sometimes, and I'm like, what's going on there? I need to know.
Yes.
But it's cool. You guys have like that big kind of open area, and I think that's nice. Here it's, different offices, so I have to hop from office to office to see what's going on.
Yeah.
But I love your guys' layout there.
Oh, thank you.
What's something that you tolerated early on, but you don't tolerate anymore from your team?
So I call it your fingerprint. It's really hard when you're growing something and you're so dependent on certain texts, and you'll leave someone that people say it all the time, like the wrong person in a seat for too long because you really need that person. So that's a mistake that I think everyone's made. And if they haven't, they will. Like that I think that's just part of being in business. But now I call it the fingerprint because we're quick to hire, but we're quick to let people go that are gonna be cancerous to our culture, as the saying goes. But when I say fingerprint, when we have conversations with people now about accountability, about KPIs, about situations, we start off with, where is your fingerprint in this? Because it's very easy to make ourselves, as technicians, as leaders, as anyone in the organization, a CSR, a DSR, the victim of any situation. But all of us that are part of a team have some kind of fingerprint in it. So identifying first what we could have done differently. And I am all about coaching people up, and we will just keep coaching and working on numbers and ride-alongs and one-to-ones and whatever we have to do to build somebody up that has the right character. Anyone that can't ever find their fingerprint, they're just not right for our organization. It's kind of the fingerprint test. Like, well, where's your fingerprint in this? If you have a complaint, a grievance, or you're not hitting KPIs, where's your fingerprint? And the people that are just in the blaming game or victim mentality, they're just not the right character for our culture. So
Yeah.
if you can't identify your fingerprint or take any personal accountability, we just don't tolerate that anymore.
Yeah, I like that analogy. From your perspective, what separates A players from average? employees?
I do think it's all about character. I really do. For us, character is absolutely everything. We can work with the guy, and we have an academy, right? I have 27 students in an academy right now that we're building up, and we spend a week with those people before we ever hire them, before we ever offer them a position, and we call it Discovery Week. And that week we bring in, at this last group that we did the beginning of May, we had 84 people start on Monday morning. We had 84 candidates that were there. And these candidates had already come in. They spent a month coming in for interviews with different team members. And then they were going to be there for a week. And we do games. We play Twister and three-legged races and run around in sumo suits and build Lego castles, but we see who is standing out in the group. We also do things like goal setting and 100-day plans and I am statements, and who's serious about building a future, and who is just looking for a job, who shows up on time every single day. I mean, those traits are something that you cannot train. For us, hiring people for character is the most important thing. And our A players, they might not always have the best week at the company, but they are always the one on the phone asking for us to go through their Rilla with them and identify how they could have done better on that call. And, I got this objection and I'm not sure how I should have cleared that. To me, that's an A player.
Coachable.
The people that are coachable, the people that are looking to be coached, not the guy that's, going out and hits a, $30,000 sale on Wednesday, and Monday and Tuesday, nothing happened. And Thursday and Friday, nothing happened, but he has the highest numbers, or highest revenue. That's not really the A player for us. The A player is definitely the people, whether it's in the call center, whether it's our dispatchers, our install coordinators, our leaders, our technicians, that are not just coachable, but looking to be coached.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking to improve. They're not okay where they are. They want growth. Those are definitely people that shine.
Yeah, I love that. So I want to talk a little more about this class that you guys do. So are these apprentices that are coming in, or are they seasoned technicians?
Yeah. So this is for our apprenticeship academy. So it's a year-long program that they go through for plumbing, HVAC, or electrical. They could, they choose what trade. Out of the 84 candidates, we brought on 15. So it's a tough week to get through.
Did they weed themselves out, or was it kind of both?
Yeah, I mean, some do. We tell them that there's a contract, and then maybe they don't show up on Tuesday. We are spending, anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000 per person to put them through training, and so it's a big investment for us. So we do require a contract. So letting them know that, then maybe on Tuesday they don't show up. There's some that, we tell them you have to be here in your seats at 8:00, just like you would at your first call. And those that got there at 8:10, the doors closed and they can't come in. And so some of them weed themselves out. And then some of them, it's really hard choices. We're trying to pick those that really stand out. And some people we send on their way, but we definitely ask them to come back and try again the next time. And because this is our third year now with the academy, we have people that come back that didn't make it the first time. And, we had told them, please come back the next time. And they do come back and try out. And so it's really cool. But yeah, it's for apprentices. For technicians, we offer a ride-along program. So they can come in and ride along with one of our technicians, see how we operate, how we run calls, how we do things, because we don't do things like everybody else. Make sure that it's a fit for them. And then we also get our technicians' feedback and make sure that they seem like a fit for us.
Right.
So we do offer that ride-along program when we're bringing on actual technicians also.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool that you guys do that. Do you have a problem finding all these applicants, or, do you guys have a good reputation in Greensboro to where people are lining up waiting for it to open?
So when it comes to the academy, we have so many applications. There's a lot of people that are looking to get into the trades, but it is a big expense for companies to bring on someone who doesn't know anything, right? Because that's just straight overhead. They're not really making jobs faster. They're actually slowing them down, so your efficiency is affected. Um, you have the expense of not just payroll, but benefits. And it's just, there's a big investment in bringing on apprentices. And so a lot of companies only have one or two, maybe. And it was always our model early on that we only had like two per department, or maybe HVAC install would definitely, the installers would have apprentices, but service really didn't. So we kind of fit in with the other companies around us at that time. But we really understand that there is a long line of people looking to get into the trade. There is not a long line of tradespeople that we're looking to hire. So we could post a position for apprenticeship. And this last time, because we open it up twice a year, so this last time we had 270 applications come in. We brought out of the 270, we brought on 84, and then out of the 84, we hired 15. I haven't probably had 270 applications. Well, I definitely haven't had 270 applications ever for technicians. Technicians it's a tough thing.
Yeah.
There are some really great ones out there, but the great ones aren't unemployed. They have a job. And so what are you doing that's going to pull them away from that? And, it's tough out there. I really think that today is a tough time for technicians to really want to jump and change organizations. With buyouts happening, the economy, and people are seeing these technicians are seeing a lot that's going on out there. There's a lot talked about on social media. There's a lot talked about on podcasts. And I think that it's creating, especially for your, I say younger because they're young to me, but your mid-20s to mid-30s age group there. If their employer is at least providing them with the basics, there's not a lot of job hopping going on. So it's hard to get those techs. And the technicians that do have 20 plus years of experience, it's really hard to get them to understand that it's 2026 and we can't do things the same as we did in 2000 or in 1995.
Yeah,
Or
they're the hardest ones to train
it is
sometimes.
so hard. It is so hard really to try to change habits. And we've had some great ones come on with years of experience. Our biggest retention truly comes from those guys that were out there for 1 or 2 years, or started in our academy, and that we grew, that we spent time educating, training, sending all over the country to different education opportunities. And those are the guys that are really excelling.
Yeah.
Um,
Same in our industry. And
yeah.
I would love to find a way to do it like at a mass scale like you guys, because like you said, we have like maybe 4 apprentices right now.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know how many are going to make it to actually be a tech.
Yeah.
But doing that at a mass scale would, make sure we have technicians next year who are ready to roll. So
Yep. And that is the most fortunate part, is that I think the biggest challenge in any of the trades, whether it's my side, your side, any of the trade industries, is labor. That is always our biggest challenge. We tried to solve that, and now it's working. It does take time to build people, and
yeah, and you have to have the right, I don't know what it looks like. We can talk about it more later, but trainers, I assume you have to have in place, and like they're able to provide the education.
Yeah. So it's a big thing to implement. Yeah.
So just one more question I want to touch on. What changes are you seeing right now in home services?
We are seeing just some different buying habits. I would say a lot of people are opting for repairs versus replacement. I think that there was a big push on replacements from 2020 to 2023. There was a massive influx of organizations coming in and really pushing boxes. And so there were a lot of people that either one, they got jaded by that, or two, they already replaced their systems. Um, but I think right now, a lot of people are just kind of holding off. They're kind of waiting for replacement. We're seeing a lot more people wait for replacement. We're also seeing a lot of people apply for financing and not get approved. We
Oh,
have
okay.
a lot of, and we have 7 different finance companies. So we will run them through every option that we have out there. We even have no credit check options that we can't even get some people approved for. So
Mm.
there is some of that going on. I think that just comes kind of in waves. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
mean, the
Over the
economy
last
is tough
11
right
years, we've
now.
seen it, yeah, ebb and flow
Yeah.
like that. So consumers are much more aware though of things today too than they were 11 years ago. They're much more aware of podcasts and coaching networks. And we had a customer that mentioned a certain sales trainer out there. I'm not going to say his name, but to one of our technicians and was like, does your company hire this guy to push sales on customers? And
Oh, wow.
like that's
Okay.
something you would never have heard 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, so consumers they're pretty savvy, and I think that the influx of AI, um,
Yeah.
and I love AI. I know everybody's not AI, path to AI yet, but I think that if you can't avoid it. It's
Yeah.
unavoidable. So really learn it now because I truly believe the only people's jobs who will ever be replaced by AI are the people who refuse to learn AI and use it well.
Yep.
That kind of information for customers too, it just gives them like a whole thing to read off to our technicians. So,
Oh, I
they're
didn't think
they're
about
really
that. Yeah.
questioning them on things, yeah. So that's been interesting. And marketing has changed a lot.
Yeah.
Just
So are you seeing, well, I guess you do most of your stuff through Google too, I would
yeah,
assume, but
yeah,
has that been changing with, more people searching through
absolutely.
AI, and what are you doing to combat that?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a really great CMO that I really highly recommend that. Google, I mean, LSA was like our thing. I mean, 90% of our calls were coming from LSA. We were so LSA heavy, and dependent almost. I mean, it was just crazy. When LSA came out, it changed our business. We had so many leads, I mean, we couldn't even keep up with them, it was great. It was fantastic. I would love that again.
The golden times.
But yes, the golden times, and all of that changed, and LSA is nowhere near my biggest lead source. Google has changed a lot. Diversifying your marketing, I think, is extremely important. Leads are extremely expensive depending on your market and who your competitors are and what they've set their rates as. I think that diversifying in marketing is the most important thing, and that gets really hard to manage when it's just you.
Yeah.
That was certainly a position I had to really give up. I love marketing. I love digital creation, and if you follow us on any of the social media platforms, I mean, we're always creating content and
Yeah.
doing something fun and exciting, and we have a great digital creator now. But is it's just a very different landscape out there, and it's a lot to manage if you're also the owner and you're trying to manage 100 other things. Like, there's some things that we really gotta give up and let those who understand what's happening and changing every 15 minutes in marketing handle, because it is just changing
It is.
every God, every few minutes. I mean, now the AI calling, we just rewrote scripts in our office yesterday because we're getting so many Google AI calls. Yesterday we had 4 Google AI calls, and they are specifically asking about pricing, and we've never given pricing over the phone. So we have to redo the way that we've done things,
Yeah.
with the way we operated our businesses. 10 years ago when we started, or 11 years ago when we started, is completely different than we operate today. But even more than that, the way we operated 12 months ago is different than the way we have to operate today, which is you've
Yeah,
got to
you
be
gotta move
you've got to
quick
be
now.
ready to pivot quickly. Yeah.
I think it's great that you have a CMO too, because kind of having that outside source, because I feel like, yes, my Google guy is going to tell me a certain thing because he wants me to spend
Yeah.
money on Google. So like having those outside perspectives, I think is critical too.
Yeah, for sure. And we saw a huge change with that when we switched.
Yeah.
Because our CMO does, we have different groups that are managing different parts of our marketing, and he's able to, non-biasedly say that's not working and that is, and turn things off and on, where before we had one company that was pretty much managing all of it, and
Yeah.
they were never at fault for anything. They never had a fingerprint.
I know
So
how that feels.
yeah.
Yes, that's super frustrating.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up with some rapid fire questions.
'Kay.
So just answer the first thing that comes to mind. Leadership or systems?
Leadership,
Culture or performance?
culture,
You already answered that in the interview. Delegation or control?
delegation.
Would you rather be respected or liked?
That changed over the years as I've grown, but definitely respected.
Biggest misconception about running a trades company?
That everyone can be a millionaire.
What's your caffeine go-to?
Oh, caramel macchiato
All right.
with an extra shot.
Early mornings or late nights?
Early mornings, definitely.
Yes, same. What's the most underrated leadership skill?
Patience.
It's good. I don't have that.
I know.
I'm working on that, I
Me
should say.
too.
If someone's listening and wants to become a stronger leader in their business, what do you think the first thing they should work on should be?
Setting aside pride and ego. We don't know everything. None of us know everything.
Good. Okay. Well, that's it. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for coming in. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.